Hello, whiskey lovers. Okay, so we're now in the final week of September and back on the computer. So this will be the first video with my new PC. I got myself a little micro gaming PC. Obviously not top of the range out there, but for the price and its size, it's considerably powerful. So I'm hoping to see what I can do with some video editing on this one. So yeah. Okay, so today we're going to be comparing the Glenfiddich 12-year-old with the Glenfiddich IPA. And I actually also went out and bought some Indian Pale Ale the other day, so I might finish with a Boilermaker. Excellent. Okay, so we'll start with our baseline Glenfiddich, the good old trusty 12-year-old. So we've got its nice golden colour, lovely citrusy sort of smells. Bit of vanilla, some nice spice. Yeah. Nice and spicy, bit of lemon, well, citrus, some vanilla, a bit of caramel flavouring. Absolutely lovely. And now we shall compare it with the IPA. Okay, so we have a nice golden colour. I think they're pretty, yeah, they're pretty comparable. But like I said, you can definitely smell the hoppiness of the beer influence in this one. That's the first thing I notice. It's fruity, it's hoppy. It leaves a delightful lingering taste on the tongue. 10 points if you get the reference. So that hoppiness flavour's there. Yeah, absolutely lovely. It's fruity. Yeah, absolutely lovely. So, having tasted the 12-year-old and its IPA equivalent, unlike some of the others, it's harder to taste the Glenfiddich influences in this. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a perfectly good whiskey. I'm really enjoying this, but it's harder to make the connection to Glenfiddich mainly because the beer influence is very, very strong in this one. And there's nothing wrong with that. And variety is the spice of life. So, yeah, if you can get your hands on the IPA, highly recommend it. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay, sorry about that. I had to get to the fridge, which is behind my curtains. My green screen. Okay, so the tin version of the Indian Pale Ale. I'm relatively certain this is the... Well, it's a craft beer anyway. It's a similar idea. I don't know if it's actually the IPA they use, because this one says it's very much Australian, but... Oh. So... I make a terrible Australian, I pour a terrible beer. It's mostly all head. But I have to admit, never been much of a beer drinker. Always enjoyed my, sometimes I like a beer, particularly on a hot day. Enjoy one occasion with my father, but yeah. Overall, for my spirits. Okay, so... Forgive me for the headiness of this beer. in what is technically a wine glass. Okay. Okay, so this is a particularly fruity beer. Not surprising, it's a craft. So again, it's hoppy, it's fruity. It leaves a delightful lingering taste on the tongue. Okay, that's the beer. Okay, so the Indian Pale Ale is definitely a heavy influence on this whiskey. The sort of fruity flavours I'm picking up in this beer, so kind of like apples, pears, and that sort of stuff, are very much present in this beer. So I'm going to add the whiskey to the beer. Have a boil maker. Delightful. Okay, so yeah, in comparison, I don't really think there is a comparison. The influence of the base whiskey seems to be overshadowed in this particular case by the barrel influences. Quite interesting, very enjoyable. So yeah, highly recommend the IPA. Try it out. I love Glenfiddich. It was like my first serious whiskey. Actually, I think it was my first whiskey. But yeah, it's my go-to. You know, I've tried many whiskies. There are better ones, but this is my go-to. If I'm ever anywhere and I want a top shelf whiskey, and they can't tell me what they've got in their top shelf range, just go with the Glenfiddich. That's my rule. Okay, so until next week, Sante.